This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Monday, June 2nd, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning. Terror attack in Boulder, Colorado. Suspect uses what police describe as a makeshift flamethrower. Plus, Ukraine targets Russia with drones, decimating some of their most sophisticated warplanes. We'll have details.
Will President Trump finally speak to the leader of China?
I believe we'll see something very soon.
I'm Richard Johnson.
On Wall Street, stocks open this first day of June trading, mostly flat for the year. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
President Trump cutting ties with one of Elon Musk's bigwigs in the space industry. I'm Clayton Neville.
Worldwide response to President Trump's planned steel tariff increase.
The Food and Drug Administration late Friday approved a new lower-dose COVID-19 vaccine. I'm Donna Warder.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Act of terrorism. In Boulder, Colorado, 6 elderly people between the ages of 67 and 88 were burned Sunday afternoon after a suspect used what was described as a makeshift flamethrower against a pro-Israel gathering of people asking for the release of hostages held in Gaza. The suspect, identified by the FBI as 45-year-old Mohammed Sabri Soliman, was allegedly heard yelling, "Free Palestine," and throwing an incendiary device at the crowd. Soliman was taken into custody without incident. Eyewitnesses told Fox News what they saw on the Pearl Street pedestrian mall.
There's a woman who was on the ground bleeding out. Oh my gosh, sorry. And then there are 2 other women whose calves were burned from the fire.
And there was a woman that was burning on the ground. And then we noticed 2 other people that had also been affected by the burns on their legs. And this man was shirtless and was yelling with some kind of accent.
In Washington, FBI Director Kash Patel said officials were investigating the incident as a targeted terror attack. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino called the attack ideologically motivated violence. Regarding the incident, the Boulder police and the FBI are expected to release more details later today. The headline in the New York Post called it Russia's Pearl Harbor. A sophisticated Ukrainian drone attack smuggled into Kremlin territory on the backs of trucks targeted multiple air bases deep inside Russia. News reports say dozens of Russian warplanes, including those capable of carrying advanced missiles and potentially nuclear payloads, were destroyed, and the White House was never notified of the planned Ukrainian attack. Correspondent Julie Walker reports U.S. senators are warning Vladimir Putin that they're planning to announce a bill defining harsh sanctions against Russia if the war does not come to an end.
2 senior U.S. senators warn Russian President Vladimir Putin is stalling at the peace table while preparing a new military offensive in Ukraine. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham.
We saw credible evidence of a summer, early fall invasion, a new offensive by Putin. He's playing the game at the peace table. He's preparing for more war. And I think the Senate is fed up with Putin.
Ukraine says Russia launched a barrage of missiles and drones Sunday, the largest attack since the full-scale invasion 3 years ago. Graham and Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal toured the damage, then met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Paris.
Putin is playing President Trump. He's taking him for a sucker. He is, in effect, stalling and stonewalling, prolonging the conversation so that he can mount this offensive and take control of more territory on the ground. If I were President Trump, I'd be insulted and offended.
Ukrainian officials say they launched a drone attack deep inside Russia, destroying more than 40 of the country's military aircraft. A new round of talks starts Monday, and Graham says it's crunch time for Putin.
The Senate and the House of Representatives in the next 2 weeks will be moving forward with a sanction bill that's bone-crushing.
Both senators told the Associated Press failing to act now could pull the U.S. deeper into a geopolitical conflict later. I'm Julie Walker.
Donald Trump a hit with Pittsburgh steelmakers, European Union steel tariffs to go into effect. That and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. You're with America in the Morning and AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton with today's weather forecast. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Today brings another day when smoke from wildfires from Alberta to Manitoba, Canada will be transported southward into the sky from the northern plains across the upper Midwest, even into the interior South. For many, this should not result in much more than some hazy sun and areas of extra colorful sunrises and sunsets due to those particulates in the air. However, areas from the western Great Lakes to the Dakotas, where the smoke should be thicker and far more noticeable, are the most likely to face enhanced and more sensible impacts, including reduced air quality and a heavier scent of smoke. Today's severe weather risk looks to be rather expansive in the middle of the country, from the Texas Panhandle northward to western Kansas, the I-25 corridor of southeastern Wyoming, most of Nebraska, and into northern Minnesota, all areas where late-day and nighttime thunderstorms may be able to produce rather large hail, as well as strong wind gusts and flooding downpours. However, the risk for general thunderstorms will exist even to the west of that zone, including the Four Corners region and into Wyoming, where storms may bring heavy rain at times, as well as parts of Utah and much of Montana. Some thunderstorms are also expected over South Florida, with some lingering morning showers around the Outer Banks, perhaps even southeastern Virginia. Outside of that activity, most places to the south and east of the Great Lakes have a dry Monday with strengthening high pressure setting up, leading to increased warmth from Oklahoma and Arkansas toward Michigan. Highs in the 80s and 90s threaten daily record highs later today in the upper Midwest. That warmth heads for the East Coast after a rather nice Monday, with the West Coast also dry today. In Detroit, look for hazy sun and a warmer day with a high of 80. For Santa Fe, New Mexico, it's a cooler day with clouds, even an afternoon thunderstorm, the high just 72. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. This could be the week President Trump finally speaks directly with China's leader, Xi Jinping. Administration officials say it probably will happen, but correspondent Rich Johnson says those officials are not saying when.
What China is doing is they are holding back products that are essential for the industrial supply chains of India, of Europe. And that is not what a reliable partner does.
Trump and Xi have not spoken since just before the inauguration in January, but two of President Trump's top economic minds took to the Sunday talk shows to say the drought is about to end.
I believe we will see something very soon.
But Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, in his appearance on CBS's Face the Nation, wouldn't say when exactly that call might happen.
I am confident that when President Trump and Party Chairman Xi have a call, that this will be ironed out. But the fact that they are withholding some of the products that they agreed to release during our agreement, maybe it's a glitch in the Chinese system. Maybe it's intentional. We'll see after the president speaks with the party chairman.
This is last week's accusation by the president that China's reneging on the temporary trade deal reached in Geneva. That agreement included a 90-day suspension of most of the tariffs that both countries have imposed on the other's products. On ABC's This Week, National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett explained.
It has been discussed that the two of them will talk about the Geneva Agreement, which we were all very favorably inclined towards, thinking this is a huge step forward. But then what happened is that people in China had to give us licenses for things, and the licenses, we believe, have been slow-rolled. It's something that the presidents want to talk about this week.
The two advisors' language was far more diplomatic than Trump's initial reaction. He posted on social media last week, China has totally violated its agreement with us. So much for being Mr. Nice Guy. I'm Richard Johnson.
Steel workers cheer President Trump at a weekend rally just outside Pittsburgh. There are worldwide concerns over the president's announcement of doubling tariffs on steel to 50%, a move that the European Union over the weekend said will cause higher prices when the new tariffs go into effect on Wednesday. Lisa Dwyer reports.
At an event at U.S. Steel's warehouses near Pittsburgh, President Donald Trump announced new higher tariffs on imported steel.
We're going to bring it from 25% to 50%, the tariffs on steel into the United States of America, which will even further secure the steel industry.
While analysts say a dramatic increase could further push up prices for a metal used to make housing, autos, and other goods, Trump says it's a good deal for steel workers.
At 25%, they can sort of get over that fence. At 50%, they can no longer get over the fence. So Congratulations to everybody and to you for making a great deal.
Trump says U.S. Steel will stay an American company under a deal for Japan-based Nippon to invest in it. Few details about that deal have been made public. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
China violates preliminary tariff agreement. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments has a team of specialists in investing, financial planning, estate planning, and more. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. We turn the page on the month of May and welcome in CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning for the first trading day of June after a mixed Friday and with a winning month of May in the books for stocks. For the year, though, the major averages are flat. Bitcoin had a great month of May, setting record highs and rising 11%. Last month was good for coffee drinkers more than growers. Coffee prices fell the most in 2.5 years in May. Gold had its first down month in the last 5. Investors are watching for any movement on trade with China after President Trump posted China violated a preliminary agreement done in Switzerland. JP Morgan's CEO talked about China at the Reagan National Economic Summit on Friday.
I just got back from China last week. They're not scared, folks. There's notion they're going to come bow to America. I wouldn't count on that. You know, and when they have a problem, they put 100,000 engineers on it, and they've been preparing for this for years. But we should engage.
And he added this about a trade deal with China.
When we do these trade agreements, the most important part is not making furniture or T-shirts or sneakers. It should be the stuff that relates to national security. We shouldn't be stockpiling Bitcoin. We should be stockpiling guns, tanks, planes, drones, rare earths. The military guys tell you that, if there's a war in the South China Sea, we have missiles for 7 days. Okay, come on. I mean, we can't say that with a straight face and think that's okay.
That's JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon. The inflation rate hit 2.1% in April in the new PCE report on personal consumption expenditures. Economists warn, though, that the numbers are backward-looking.
We're talking about inflation in April. In April, what was on store shelves is really stuff that was brought into the U.S. in a fundamentally different tariff regime. You are going to start to see some of these impacts down the road. That's why you're seeing Walmart tell you that they're going to have to raise prices. They know they're going to have to do that this summer because the cost of importing has gone up very significantly for them. The effective tariff rates in this country today are 21%. When Trump took office, they were 2.5%.
Yale School of Management's Natasha Sarin on CNBC. Costco shares popped 3% Friday on strong quarterly results. The chain did a front run ahead of the tariffs by bringing in products early. Gap and American Eagle Outfitters each lowered their outlooks for the year, blaming tariffs.
You've heard from all the retailers. They're doing what they can. They've already moved largely out of China. They're trying to mitigate and cut costs elsewhere. But, there's little you can do. You've got the 30% tariff from China, and you've got 10% from elsewhere. So second half of the year, most retailers are warning, we're going to get hit here.
That's SW Retail Advisors President Stacy Widlitz on CNBC. On today's watch list, one big earnings report from Campbell's.
Thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, new vaccine released for the COVID variant. After these messages. Thanks for listening. You're with America in the Morning. President Trump is withdrawing the nomination of an associate of Elon Musk to head NASA. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
The news comes as Elon Musk exits the White House following months of leading DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and the Trump administration's effort to cut spending. In a social media post over the weekend, President Trump said that after a thorough review of prior associations, he's withdrawing the nomination of Jared Isaacman to head NASA. He posted that he'll soon announce a new nominee who will be mission-aligned and put America first in space. Isaacman took to social media to say that the past 6 months have been enlightening and thrilling. Musk chimed in over the weekend. When referring to Isaacman, he said it's rare to find someone so competent and good-hearted. I'm Clayton Neville.
With a new but less dangerous variant making the rounds, the FDA gave approval for a new COVID-19 vaccine. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
The Food and Drug Administration late Friday approved a new lower-dose COVID-19 vaccine made by Moderna. The vaccine, called mNEX Spike, is a step toward next-generation coronavirus vaccines. It's 1/5 the dose of Moderna's current COVID-19 vaccine and refines its immune target. The new vaccine is approved for use in adults 65 and older and for people aged 12 to 64 who have at least one health condition that puts them at increased risk from the coronavirus. Those restrictions are a departure from how the U.S. has handled COVID-19 vaccines until now, reflecting skepticism about vaccines from Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and other Trump officials. Moderna's existing vaccine doesn't face those limits and has long been used for anyone ages 6 months and older. I'm Donna Warder.
National Safety Month is underway. What can you do? Take a CPR class, put together a first aid or to-go kit for your family, or learn the Heimlich maneuver. You just may save a life. America in the Morning for Monday, June 2nd, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour,
Republican Senator Rand Paul sees flaws in President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill.
The math doesn't really add up.
I'm Jim Root.
With no ceasefire deal in the Middle East, war rages. I'm Clayton Neville.
In a shooting near Los Angeles, a police officer was killed and another officer was hurt. I'm Julie Walker.
A Washington, D.C. museum opens following last week's shooting. An MIT student barred from her college commencement, and a surprise at the weekend box office. We'll have details.
New encrypted messaging feature may be coming to X. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Emmy winner Loretta Swit has died. She was 87. I'm Ed Donahue.
Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The Atlantic hurricane season is underway. With more in the Monday forecast, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
The area with at least some risk for severe thunderstorms today will stretch just about border to border as a rather messy pattern brings a couple of separate features into the center of the nation. The result is that thunderstorms from the Arrowhead of Minnesota southward through eastern and southern South Dakota, the central and southern high plains, and into the western half of Oklahoma may bring winds that could be locally damaging as well as large hail in spots and downpours that could be intense enough to produce areas of flash flooding from late this afternoon into tonight. AccuWeather severe weather experts have outlined the area from southeastern and south-central South Dakota toward the Colorado-Kansas border as a zone where there may be some increased coverage of severe storms thanks to an area of low pressure developing nearby. Otherwise, another major story for today will be the continuing influence of smoke from large wildfires that are still burning out of control in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, Canada. As that smoke rises high into the atmosphere, wind well above the surface generally will be from the northwest, driving that smoke into the air in the U.S. despite surface winds more from the south for much of the Midwest and Great Lakes regions today. This means that an area from the northern plains into Michigan and even toward parts of the Ohio and Tennessee River valleys, perhaps even parts of the southeast, may have hazy sun today. The thickest smoke and highest chances for reduced air quality should be from Wisconsin to northern Iowa and the eastern Dakotas. Otherwise, most of the rest of the nation's precipitation should be west of the Mississippi River today, at least outside of South Florida, with showers in Montana and some thunderstorms from Wyoming through the Four Corners. The east has a rather nice Monday in store, while warmth spreads from the central plains into the upper Midwest. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Reports say a man with a makeshift flamethrower yelled "Free Palestine" and threw an incendiary device into a group of people. They, many of them seniors, had assembled to raise attention for Israeli hostages in Gaza. 6 people were injured, some with burns. The lone suspect in the attack, Mohammed Sabri Solomon. Local Boulder, Colorado police and the FBI are expected to release more information on the incident later today. Attacks by Israel on Gaza continued over the weekend. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest.
More than 53,000 people killed in the Israel-Hamas war to date. Over the weekend, Israeli airstrikes blamed for the deaths of 26 people in Rafah, more than 100 injured near the site of a humanitarian relief post.
What's happened over time is the humanitarian aid has been used as a source of manipulation by Hamas. It's been used to sell the humanitarian aid to raise money for the fighters.
U.S. Senator Dave McCormick told Fox News Sunday that Israel should keep the pressure on Hamas.
There cannot be a military body from Hamas standing when this war is done.
This as Hamas holds off on agreeing to the details of a ceasefire proposal backed by Israel and the U.S. American Special Envoy Steve Witkoff tore into Hamas's response to the ceasefire deal, calling it unacceptable. He said the Hamas proposal only takes us backwards. The U.S.-Israel deal calls for a 60-day pause in fighting while a long-term truce is negotiated. Hamas, though, proposing a permanent ceasefire, more aid, and Israeli withdrawal. Former Israeli consul Yaki Dayan chimed in on where things stand.
Israel has accepted the Witkoff proposal, and they're waiting to hear the Hamas answer regarding this proposal. It is taking time, but so far the decision by the Israeli government is to continue the military operation as long as the Hamas is not giving a positive answer regarding the Witkoff proposal.
He spoke with El Arabia English.
So we'll see the continuation of the military operation as long as we don't hear an answer. The idea is to take control of as many places as possible in Gaza to create safe zones for the population, but the military operation would continue as long as there is no positive answer coming from the Hamas.
The U.S. and Israel both hopeful that negotiations will continue this week. Israel estimates that about 20 hostages are still alive. I'm Clayton Neville.
Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul continues his opposition against Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. Correspondent Jim Roop reports.
Paul is suggesting there's a miscalculation.
The math doesn't really add up.
Paul, speaking on CBS's Face the Nation Sunday, said there's too much money for the military and border security, about $320 billion.
To put that in perspective, that's more than all the DOGE cuts that we found so far. So the increase in spending put into this bill exceeds the DOGE cuts.
He says the bill reflects an 8-fold increase in border wall spending alone, from an estimated $6.5 billion for 1,000 miles of wall to $46.5 billion for the same length. He says add to that the increased debt, $5 trillion over 2 years.
Enormous amount. So there's a lot of new spending that has to be counteracted. But essentially, this is a bill by the military-industrial complex advocates who are padding the military budget. There's going to be a lot of extra money.
President Trump has criticized Paul about his criticisms of the tax and spending bill, posting that if Paul votes against the bill, he will be, quote, playing right into the hands of the Democrats, end quote, adding that the people of Kentucky will never forgive him. Paul says he thinks differently because he's talked with the people of Kentucky.
The Farm Bureau, which is opposed to the tariffs. I talked to the bourbon industry, which is opposed to the tariffs. I talked to the cargo companies, UPS, DHL, all of their pilots are opposed to it. I talked to the hardwood floor people. I talked to the people selling houses, building houses. I have no organized business interest in Kentucky for the tariffs. And it's worth people remembering that the Republicans used to be for lower taxes. Tariffs are a tax.
The bill narrowly passed the House May 22nd, will soon be voted on in the Senate, where the president can only afford to lose 3 votes.
I think there are 4 of us at this point, and I would be very surprised if the bill at least is not modified in a good direction.
He says he wants to vote for the bill. He wants to vote in favor of tax cuts, but at the same time, he says, he doesn't want to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion. I'm Jim Roop.
New questions surrounding an undocumented man held in Wisconsin, who Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says threatened to kill President Trump. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
Announcing the arrest of 54-year-old Raymond Morales Reyes, a dishwasher in Milwaukee, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem posted a picture of a handwritten letter saying Reyes had threatened to kill the president at one of his rallies before returning to Mexico. The story received a flood of media attention, but a source tells the AP that investigators actually believe Reyes never wrote the letter and may have been framed so that he'd get arrested and deported before he could testify at a July trial as the victim of assault. Christine Newman Ortiz is the executive director of Voces de la Frontera.
A family member called our organizers, letting us know that this was impossible, as her father had very little formal education and could not read or write in Spanish, let alone perfect English.
His attorney, Kime Abduli, says Reyes had recently applied for a U visa for people in the country illegally who become victims of serious crimes.
Hardworking, he just kind of works and tries to support his family the best that he can. He has 3 children who are born here.
The Department of Homeland Security says the investigation into the threat is still ongoing, but Reyes is in the country illegally and has a criminal record, so they say he will remain in custody.
He's a victim and he came forward.
His attorney, Kane Ulahan, says he has a court date in Chicago next week.
I think he deserves more than just due process to see if he can stay. He deserves to have his name cleared.
I'm Jennifer King.
It's 17 till. When we return on America in the Morning, we'll have the story of a class president barred from graduation ceremonies. Chuck Palm has the tech report. Robert Workman is in with sports after these messages. A shooting near Los Angeles kills 2 people, one of them a police officer remembered as an amazing guy. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
In a shooting near Los Angeles in Baldwin Park, a police officer was killed and another officer was hurt. A second person was also found dead. LA County Sheriff Robert Luna says police were responding to a call of someone shooting rounds with a rifle and then got into a shootout with the suspect.
The suspect that we believe to be the murderer of our police officer and maybe the individual out there, yes, we do. You also need to know that when the suspect engaged the officers when they arrived, after those shots were fired, they obviously bravely try to fight.
Baldwin Park Police Chief Robert Lopez remembers the slain officer.
Our officer was an amazing man. He was an avid snowboarder, Dodger fan. One of the interesting things that I found is that he would travel with and go see the Dodgers play at different stadiums across the United States.
Officials say the injured officer and the suspect are in stable condition. Audio courtesy KABC. I'm Julie Walker.
In Washington, D.C., the Capitol Jewish Museum has been reopened to the public just over a week after 2 Israeli embassy staff members were gunned down in what the Justice Department called an act of anti-Semitic violence. Walter Ratliff reports.
It is an act of resilience.
Chris Wolf, chairman of the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C., speaks after a shooting that left 2 dead. Yaron Lashinsky, an Israeli citizen, and Sarah Milgram, an American woman, were a young couple about to be engaged. They were leaving an event at the Jewish Museum when the suspect approached a group of 4 people and opened fire. Lashinsky and Milgram were killed. Wolf said reopening the museum is a way to resist anti-Semitism.
Our celebration of Judaism and all it has contributed to society is perhaps the best antidote to anti-Semitism.
D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser says the museum's message goes beyond the Jewish community.
I believe strongly, and I have said often, it is not up to the Jewish community to say support us. It is up to all of us to denounce anti-Semitism in all forms.
I'm Walter Ratliff.
The 2005 class president of MIT was barred from a graduation ceremony Friday after delivering a pro-Palestinian speech during a commencement event the day before. The student decried the ongoing situation in Gaza, saying, quote, "The MIT community that I know would never tolerate a genocide." Her speech was met with a combination of cheers and jeers from fellow students and the crowd, some of whom walked out. MIT soon after told the student she was not allowed to attend the commencement ceremony and was barred from campus, but will still receive her degree. MIT was among a number of colleges and universities, including NYU, Columbia, UCLA, and Harvard, where students set up encampments last spring to denounce the war in Gaza. Elon Musk's X could soon be getting an encrypted messaging platform. Chuck Palm explains in today's Tech Report.
Social media monster platform X has a new DM feature called XChat. Previous users of Twitter might remember the DM feature before Elon Musk took over, but now, according to an article on TechCrunch, new features have been rumored to be part of the XChat messaging system, including end-to-end encryption, vanishing mode, and because you can't have too much personal privacy, XChat has the ability to lock things up with a 4-digit passcode. X announced last week that they would be pausing their DM encryption feature, given that XChat has all of these and more. Premium users and beta testers do have some access to the new feature as it is rolling out to the rest of us in the near future. Musk has hinted for a while that he wanted to bring a messaging platform with Signal-like services and embed it into X. If the new XChat feature does become available for general use, then it looks like he's making good on his promises. You can find me on X at Chuck Palm.
Monday Sports is in with America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
Baseball Sunday, the Brewers completed the weekend sweep of the Phillies 5-2 for their 7th consecutive victory. Blue Jays scored 6 times in the 8th and doubled up the A's 8-4. That's Toronto's 5th win in a row. A's manager Mark Kotsay on the late meltdown.
We had a lot of success with the bullpen last season, and we started out well, and we just haven't been able to close games right now.
6 straight L's for the A's. Mets topped the Rockies 5-3, all of the runs coming via the long ball, including Juan Soto going deep for the 2nd straight game. Colorado now 9-50 this year. Yankees salvaged 1 game in L.A., beating the Dodgers 7-3 last night in the World Series rematch. NL Central leading Cubs topped the Reds 7-3. The AL West leading Mariners edged the Twins 2-1. Cal Raleigh is now the Major League's home run leader with 23. Tigers blanked the Royals 1-0. 5 pitchers scattered 9 hits. Detroit's run came on a wild pitch by Chris Bubich, who lowered his league-leading ERA to 1.43 despite the loss. Astros shut out the Rays 1-0. Hunter Brown with a 2-hit combo plate to become this year's first 8-game winner. AL wins for the Rangers, Orioles, Red Sox, and Guardians. In the National League, Diamondbacks, Giants, and Padres were winners. College baseball, the top 2 seeds are out, eliminated despite hosting their NCAA regionals. Number 1 Vanderbilt's 9th inning comeback fell short as they lost to Wright State in Nashville, and 2nd-ranked Texas lost to UTSA for the 2nd straight day in Austin. Tennis, 2 American men have advanced to the quarterfinals at the French Open. If that sounds unfamiliar, that's probably because it hasn't happened in nearly 30 years. 12-seed Tommy Paul and number 15 Francis Tiafoe both won in straight sets on Sunday to make the final 8. The last time 2 U.S. men got this far was 1996, Jim Courier and Pete Sampras. In fact, no American man has made the quarters at Roland Garros since Andre Agassi did it in 2003. That's Monday Sports.
When we return on America in the Morning, a final farewell to Hot Lips Houlihan after these messages. Tributes continue to pour in following the death of a longtime cast member from TV's MASH. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
Emmy winner Loretta Swit has died. She was 87. Swit played nurse Major Margaret Houlihan on TV's MASH. Her character was also called Hot Lips. Swit's character was originally one-dimensional. As the years went by, her sexuality was played down.
What do you mean he ran out on you?
He lied to me. He kept saying we could work things out. And then to prove it, he went sneaking off. He couldn't even face me, the dirty, miserable weasel.
What are you going to do?
Get a divorce, that's what. Get a divorce.
And in the show's later years, she wasn't called Hot Lips.
From now on, I'm number 1. Me, Margaret Houlihan. And believe me, soldier, I deserve better than you.
After MASH, Swit became a vocal animal welfare activist and performed in theater. Her publicist says Loretta Swit died at her home in New York, likely from natural causes.
You tell her. You mix the plaster. Well, one of us ought to tell her it's a joke. His leg is okay. The cast is a fake.
What?
The cast. Take it off.
Taking off.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for everything.
Bye, Margaret.
I'm Ed Donahue.
The Karate Kid scored at the box office over the weekend, but it still couldn't sweep the legs off the reigning movie champ. With a follow-up from the Silver Screen Weekend Haul, here's entertainment correspondent Kevin Carr.
This weekend, The Karate Kid was no match for Disney's Little Blue Alien or Tom Cruise hanging off an airplane. In spite of predictable online bickering, Disney's live-action remake of Lilo and Stitch continues to dominate the box office, repeating at number 1 with $63 million. This Gen Z nostalgia-driven family film has already gobbled up more than $600 million worldwide.
Smart people on every side are close to panicking.
In second place was Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning with $27 million.
I have no regrets.
The 8th movie in the popular spy franchise is flirting with $400 million worldwide, but is still going to struggle to clear its monumental budget.
Sensei LaRusso. Let's make a Karate Kid.
Newcomer Karate Kid Legends landed in 3rd place with an honorable $21 million. This waxes on slightly below expectations, but it's still a solid opening for the 41-year-old franchise.
It all started with Grandma. Death is coming for us because we were never supposed to exist.
Horror movies rounded out the top 5, with Final Destination Bloodlines taking 4th with $11 million, pushing the franchise reboot past $100 million domestic.
How did you cope with Kathy being gone? I didn't.
And newcomer Bring Her Back from the makers of the 2023 sleeper hit Talk to Me took 5th with $7 million. I'm Kevin Carr.
It was on this date in 1851 that the first alcohol prohibition law went into effect in the U.S. It began in the state of Maine. America in the Morning for Monday, June 2nd, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.